All right, everybody, we are back for Week 6 predictions for the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. This is going to come out late. I don't know how the views are going to do, but I didn't make a video last week, and I wasn't just going to post it in the community tab because it doesn't get a ton of engagement. It gets some likes, a few comments, but, you know, I got to put this video out. So we're going to get right into it. Obviously, you know, UFC 306. Merab did what he needed to do. Valentina and Grasso probably had one of the worst fights to ever be on a pay-per-view main card. Not in terms of skill, just the overall way the fight played out. I mean, I don't know. I think that was more of Grasso not showing up than it was Valentina being that much better. Because we've seen the fight before and we know how closely matched these girls usually are. We knew that the takedowns were going to be an issue, but I don't know, I feel like that was more of Grasso not showing up than it was Valentina dominating, but, you know, you can take that for what you will. But we're going to kick it off with this week's Contender Series bouts, and honestly, this is a pretty good week. This might be one of the best weeks in terms of competitive fights, finishes. I think there's going to be a lot of finishes, but, you know, we're going to get into it. So let's kick it off with the first fight up in the middleweight division. You have Yura Naito taking on Atiba Gautier. You have Two-Face versus the Silent Assassin. I think that Atiba Gautier is a great striker. You know, he's got a lot of power. He throws pretty technical on the feet. He's pretty loose when he moves around. He's a big, muscular dude. He's got a big athletic frame. And this guy has a lot of power, like I said. He throws a right cross to a lead head kick, knocks out one of his opponents on the regional scene. Nasty knockout, like bend of the knee, like exorcism type shit. But looking at the fight, I think Yura Naito has the biggest advantage on the ground, and I also think he can compete with Gautier on the feet. I think he might even be more technical on the feet than Gautier. He has decent boxing. He moves well. Obviously, the bread and butter is going to be to get the takedowns and get Gautier down to the ground. But when you really look at it, I mean, I've seen Yura Naito throw a feint and then bang a left hook. It was a nice, short, crisp left hook, knock his opponent out. He's got good 1-2s down the middle. He moves well, and he's got the grappling and wrestling to back himself up if he needs to. His last win came via ground and pound TKO. Before that, ground and pound. Before that, a unanimous decision. Prior to that, it was an armbar, and prior to that, it was a knockout. His last fight was 2 months ago. Before that, he didn't compete for 2 years. Now, if you look on the side of Gautier, his last loss came against Glenn Williams via a split decision, which was 2 years ago. His last fight was 9 months ago. He got a knockout. Before that, he got that brutal head kick KO, the right cross to the lead head kick. That was against Vuk Lecic, and prior to that, he got another knockout against a guy who's 0-1. Vuk Lecic was 1-0, and then Carlos de Souza was 17-13. The records of the fighters that Yura Naito fought were 0-0, 19-10, which doesn't look too bad, 1-0, 6-5, and then 4-6. So, you know, but you can't take anything from records with these guys on the Contender Series usually, because when you really look into it, a lot of these guys don't have the greatest records. A lot of these guys are fighting cans, and there are a few guys who have some good matchups, like Cody Haddon had fought Steve Erceg, and there's another guy on here who has fought some pretty solid competition. But when I break this down, I do think that Gautier is going to be the more powerful striker. I think there's always that possibility that he closes the distance and gets a knockout. You know, he's got the power where he really only needs one shot to put his opponent away. But I do think that the overall well-rounded game of Yura Naito, the more well-rounded fighter in this fight is Naito, and I think he's going to be able to mix it up between the takedowns, the striking, use the level change feints to come back with hook cross, use a level change feint, come back uppercut hook, and I think he's going to be able to mix this fight up and be able to take the fight where he wants to. But like I said, Gautier is powerful, he's strong, and if he cracks the chin of Naito, he might put him to sleep. But I'm going to go Yura Naito to get the job done via a rear naked choke submission. I think he drops him or wobbles him with something on the feet and then finds a way to get him down to the ground, get to the top position, land some shots, and then I think Gautier gives up his back and he gets submitted. It could be a ground and pound TKO, but I do think that Naito is pretty well rounded. We just don't know what these guys are going to look like on the Contender. But I'm going to take Yura Naito second round. rear naked choke submission. I know I love my second rounds, but I do think that this guy's going to be able to get it done. But if he got knocked out, I wouldn't be surprised. If you could double chance it, I would say probably Yura Naito by submission and Gautier by KO. Under 2.5 might be good, but you just don't know with the Contender Series. So give me Yura Naito, second round submission. I think he finds the back after hurting him on the feet and gets that rear naked choke. All right, this next fight up is kind of interesting because you can't really find tape on Arthur Lopez. Taliesin Teixeira, 6-0, undefeated in pro MMA. You look at his record, he's got 5 KOs, 1 submission. His last win came via LFA or at LFA 183 in May of this year. He got a head kick to punch his knockout in round 1. But he really was fighting a guy who, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So he fought Mateus Fonseca, who's 2-2. Before that, he fought Arthur Fonseca, who is coincidentally also 2-2. So he fought brothers, I'm guessing. They have to be brothers. I mean, I don't know, or they're related somehow. But he beat Arthur Fonseca first round KO with right hand to hammer fist, and then he beat Mateus Fonseca a minute and 55 seconds into round 1 in May of 2024 as well. So he beat the brothers, or he beat 2 brothers back to back. And coincidentally, they both have the same records. I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of feel like this is the same person, just like, I don't know, man. They are brothers, but that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, how is it that both of these brothers fight in the LFA and he fought both brothers and they're both the same weight class? I don't know. Something about that doesn't seem right to me. But either way, he's getting the job done. Knockouts early in round 1. This guy kind of reminds me of the kid on the Contender Series 2 weeks ago. Let me see what his name was. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Cavalcanti. That was it. He reminds me of Igor Cavalcanti. I mean, we don't know too much about him. He looks okay. He doesn't look like he comes in the best of shape, but his picture on Tapology shows that he is in pretty good shape. His opponent, like I said, hasn't fought in 6 years. Well, fought once in 6 years. Got a knockout in 20 seconds. We don't know how good this kid is, but based on the fact I have no idea what's going on, this could be another Andre Pulayev fight where you can't really find tape on him. He looks okay, but doesn't look that great, and a lot of people just expect him to lose, and then he comes in and wins the fight. We don't know, but I'm going to take the safe side. I'm going to take Taliesin Teixeira by first round knockout. I think he finds the chin of Arthur Lopez and knocks him out, but at minus 700 or higher, I wouldn't play it. Maybe round 1, but you're getting chalky even with those odds. But I'm going to take Taliesin Teixeira first round KO. Can't find nearly anything except some grainy footage of Arthur Lopez where he just comes forward, gets takedowns, and tries to ground and pound you. I don't necessarily think that's going to work against this guy, so give me Teixeira first round knockout. All right, this next fight up, I believe, is the best fight on the card. It's in the welterweight division. You have Benjamin Bennett, Mr. Alaska, taking on Joey the Hitman Hart. Shout out to my wrestling fans on this channel. You know, I watched tape on Benjamin Bennett, and this kid's good. He's not a bad fighter at all. He is very forward pressure heavy, throws big punches, rips to the body, comes back up top to the head, can go right hook to the body, left hook up top to the head, left hook to the body, right hook to the head, mixes up his levels very well, but he's a very heavy wrestler. He's going to come forward, he's going to get in your face, he's going to push you against the cage, and he's going to, quote-unquote, embrace the grind. That's the kind of style that this Benjamin Bennett guy has. It's forward pressure, big punches, moving pretty well, close the distance, get the takedown, push you against the fence, land ground and pound, look to take your back and lock up a sub. If he can't get the sub, he's back on the ground and pound. If you get back up, he's going to throw 1 or 2 more punches, change levels, and get takedowns again. We don't see much of Joey Hart's jiu-jitsu, at least in terms of his fights that you can find tape on. But this guy's long, he's rangy, he uses his reach very well, but he's also good on the inside. He can throw big knees to the body, big knees up top to the head, and this guy's going to come forward and look to put you out, but he seems a little bit more technical than Benjamin Bennett to me. It seems like he can use his length, he can use his reach better, but with the style that Benjamin Bennett has, he's going to have to get in close on a guy like Joey Hart. He's going to have to push him up against the cage. He's going to have to get those takedowns. And we've seen Joey Hart get taken down before. We've seen him get controlled on the ground, but he'll find his way to get back up to his feet and usually work off with his striking combinations. I did watch a video of him on YouTube where he grappled with this YouTuber who I would think is a jiu-jitsu guy. I didn't know the guy's name or the channel off the top of my head, but he did grapple and he showed good jiu-jitsu and good submissions, but that's obviously training. You don't know how he can apply that to the fight, but I mean, guillotine, Darce chokes, you know, like a triangle into a Kimura. He was mixing up a lot of his submissions, and we know that he can flow well on the ground. This guy has good jiu-jitsu. He has good submissions, but he mainly wants to keep it on the feet, and he doesn't mind getting in close because he can use that long frame to drive those knees up to your head. Now, the one thing I could probably use to compare this to is Benjamin Bennett's fight against Trey Waters before Waters went over to the UFC. Benjamin Bennett was dominating. He was landing combinations, he was closing the distance, he was cage pushing, getting takedowns, controlling the wrist, landing ground and pound, and just working over Trey Waters. He got hit at the beginning of round 2 with a good 1-2 and kind of got rocked, and, you know, it didn't work out for him. You know, I kind of take Benjamin Bennett and compare him like a better version of a Liam Anderson from the Contender series. He kind of reminds me of a similar style, stocky, muscular, push forward, get takedowns, decent power in his hands, uses striking to get to his takedowns, and rinse and repeat. I think that the length and reach of Joey Hart is going to give Benjamin Bennett some trouble. I really do think that that's the biggest thing in this fight. I mean, he comes in with a 78.5-inch reach. He's 6'3", and then if you look at his opponent in Benjamin Bennett, he's got a 74-inch reach, and he's only 6 feet tall. So 3-inch height advantage and a pretty sizable reach advantage as well. But with the style of Bennett, like we said, you don't know how that's going to play out, because if he can close the distance and get on the inside, then it's Benjamin Bennett's fight. But with the clinch work, with the elbows, with the knees from Joey Hart, I think he can hurt him inside the clinch as well. I think this guy can be hurt. I think this guy can be wobbled. I also think Joey Hart can get taken down. I think he can get controlled. And I think it's just going to be a case of what distance does the fight take place at, and who can, you know, implement their game plan for as long as the fight goes. I was originally leaning Benjamin Bennett. I'm switching it up. I'm going Joey Hart. I think Joey Hart finds a knockout in this fight against Benjamin Bennett. I think that his style, the knees inside the clinch to the body to the head, he places those knees very well. I watched him hit pads and move around. This guy's got good boxing, good 1-2 down the middle, good punctuating his combinations with kicks as well. And I think the length and reach and frame of Joey Hart is going to give Benjamin Bennett a lot of trouble in this matchup. It's close. Like I said, I think this is the best fight on the card, but I got to go with the Hitman. Give me Joey the Hitman Hart to get the job done via a late second or early third round TKO. I think he's going to hurt him. Like I said, I've seen Benjamin Bennett get hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if Bennett got the takedowns, controlled Joey Hart for a decent amount of time, but I do think that you could take the wrestler that might be the smarter pick in most cases, but knowing that Joey Hart has decent jiu-jitsu from what I've seen, at least what I can find, looks like he's competent on the ground, looks like he's educated, and he's got good strikes inside the clinch to the point where even if it's a close fight and they're in close quarters, he can still generate enough power to hurt you and damage you. So give me Joey Hart, late second or early third round TKO. I'm going to go with a third round TKO. I always pick second round. Give me Joey Hart to win via third round TKO. I think he's going to hit him with a big straight punch, rock him, and then land those knees and put him down. So Joey Hart's second round knockout, but this is the best fight on the card, and I'm really excited to see it. All right, up next on the Contender Series, the fourth fight of the night is a battle in the bantamweight division. You have a fighter who is undefeated coming out of Western New Zealand, Australia, in Aaron Tao, taking on Elijah Smith. 8-0 for Aaron Tao, 6-1 for Elijah Smith. I'm going to be honest, I figured that Aaron Tao was going to be the favorite. And then I go and I look at the odds and I see that Aaron Tao is the underdog. I kind of understand why, but I didn't check the odds before I watched the tape. I just watched the tape, and I was like, okay, Tao's got to be the favorite, just off of what I saw. And I thought maybe Smith was a good underdog play, but now I see that it's actually the other way around, and Elijah Smith is the favorite. Look, Aaron Tao is a pretty well-rounded fighter. He can mix it up on the ground, standing up, decent boxing, decent stance-changing combinations, can put his combos together, but his bread and butter is going to be his takedowns. He looks to get you down to the ground. He looks to implement his wrestling. He looks to, get you on the floor, get on top, land ground and pound, look to set up submissions, look to get on top, put the hooks in on your back, and just rinse and repeat a grappling heavy style. But he's also, like I said, comfortable on the feet. He can switch stances, orthodox southpaw. I saw him go 1-2, step back, switch right hook, go back orthodox. He moves in and out. He circles pretty well. And I think Tao's him up is a pretty well-rounded guy. I really do, but we don't know. We don't know what he's going to look like in this fight. Elijah Smith, this dude, you could tell that he was a really good athlete before he got to MMA, just based on the way he moves, his fast twitch muscles, the way he's able to kind of use his footwork to move around the octagon, and then just pop a 1-2 down the middle, cross hook. Good reaction time as well. He uses his length and reach. Well, not length and reach, but he moves very well, very smooth. Boom, left hook. Bang, bang, 1-2. Cross hook. He's moving, finding his angles. Bang, really big explosive takedowns. The one thing I can say about Elijah Swift Elijah Smith, I'm sure that's probably how he says it. It sounds better. I think Swift Elijah Smith is a very explosive athlete. This guy's explosive. When he gets fighters hurt, he's jumping on you, he's landing ground and pound to get you out. There is no wasted time with this Smith dude. We've seen Elijah Smith get knocked out before. He got knocked out in the third round against Reyes Cortez back in Fury FC 76 in March of 2023. Since then, he got a rear naked choke in round 3, a unanimous decision, a knockout in 37 seconds of round 1, and a TKO in round 1 back in June 2016. This year in particular, he has 2 first-round knockouts, one in under a minute and one in under 2 minutes. So, looking at it for what it is, you look at Aaron Tao's record. He's 8-0. I was going to say 6-1, but that's Elijah Smith. He's 8-0. He was supposed to fight Quang Lee. That's where I heard about this guy. See, I felt like I had heard about him on the Contender series a few weeks ago, and it didn't happen. He was supposed to fight Quang Lee, the guy who stepped up on short notice to fight Chris Gutierrez. But he took on Shane Parker, got a ground and pound finish in round 2, got a TKO in round 1 over Paul Loga, got a knockout in round 1 over Shem Murdoch, rear naked choke in round 1 over Nick Thornton, knockout in 40 seconds in round 1 over Logan Price. Like I said, can't take too much from Contender Series tape before they get on the Contender. I think Elijah Smith is the better athlete. I think Elijah Smith is more explosive. But I do think that Aaron Tao has a awkward enough style to give a guy like Elijah Smith problems and to find openings in the defensive irresponsibility of Smith. That's the one thing I don't like, and that's what's kind of pushing me towards the underdog in Aaron Tao, is the fact that he leaves his chin exposed in the middle of combinations. Like, he's got big power, he can put you down, he's got great wrestling, very explosive, but when he throws 2, 3, 4 punches, he kind of leaves his chin on the center line. There's not a bunch of head movement, and I feel like Aaron Tao manages distance a little bit better, and I kind of think he's going to be able to snipe a shot on Elijah Smith as he closes the distance. I do believe Elijah to be the better athlete. I believe him to be a little bit smoother with the way he moves on his feet, but I also think that just the angles that Tao fights at, the fact that the wrestling between these two probably cancels out. I kind of feel like it's going to be mainly a striking battle, and although on tape it looks like the more technical guy is Elijah Smith, I feel like Aaron Tao leaves less openings to get caught, and I think Tao's style of the step back, counter right hooks, the 1-2s down the middle, the decent use of his kicking range, I think he can snipe a shot on Elijah Smith and catch him coming in. And even if he can't, I kind of feel like he could win a point fighting match as well, just moving around on the outside and finding his openings on the less than stellar defense of Elijah Smith. I like Elijah Smith. I think he's a good fighter. I definitely think he could catch Tao and knock him out. But I'm going to go with Tao. I'm going to go with Taze him up. Tao's him up. However you say it. I think it's Taze him up. Aaron Taze him up Tao on the Touch him up podcast. Give me Aaron Tao. I'm going to go with a decision in this one. I think it probably is a finish, but based on the styles of both guys, I feel like it might be a point fighting style on the side of Aaron Tao. If it's not a decision, I would say probably late second round ground and pound TKO for Aaron Tao. I think that's probably how it goes. Catch him with something on the feet, get him to shoot. Could lock up a neck. You know, I'm going to go guillotine. Give me Aaron Tao, late second round guillotine choke. But I could see this going decision. But I'm going to take the dog and Taze him up. Or Tao's him up, Aaron Tao against Elijah Smith. And then we get to the main event of the evening between Dylan Mantello taking on Ahmad Hassanzada. Both of these guys have been on the Contender Series before. Mantello lost via a submission to Kanan Kruchevsky. And, you know, honestly, Kruchevsky, he did not look good in his UFC career so far. Not good at all. Lost a unanimous decision to Kurt Holloway. Before that, got knocked out with that vicious stance change combination from Elfsbrenner. And yeah, he did not look that great. You know, and I don't really think Dylan Mantello is that good either. He's very long, he's very tall, but he doesn't really know how to use his reach that well inside the cage. He's one of the guys who are blessed with length and reach, but doesn't really know how to execute and use it to the best of his ability. He gets clipped, he gets rocked, he gets hurt all the time. Overhands, left hooks, head kicks, 1-2s down the middle. I mean, this guy is tough. That's the one thing I'll say, is Mantello is tough. He's not going to quit on himself. He's going to continue to march forward. He landed a pretty good scissor flying knee on the regional scene. And, you know, basically knocked out his opponent on the feet and then finished him off with ground and pound. It was a brutal knockout, beautiful KO. But I've seen Ahmad Hassanzada go life and death with Nazim Sadykhov. And I believe Nazim is a very, very high-level fighter. I think he's very good. And going back and rewatching that fight, even though it was a long time ago, Ahmad Hassanzada was going back and forth. He was winning reversals on the ground. He was getting takedowns of his own. He was controlling from the top position. I've seen on the regional scene, this guy can put striking combinations together. You know, he can throw his combinations, punctuate his combinations with kicks. I think Mantello wins if this fight's at reach or at length, but I just don't think Mantello's good enough at using his length and reach. And don't get me wrong, if he's able to stick on the outside, it's going to be very hard for Hassanzada to get on the inside. But I think Hassanzada is going to be able to crash that pocket, and I think he's going to hurt Mantello over and over and over again. Overhands, hooks, uppercuts, ripping kicks to the body. I think he's going to hurt him, get the takedowns, land ground and pound on the ground, and I think it's going to be a pretty dominant performance from Ahmad Hassanzada. I really do. You know, go back and watch the fight with Hassanzada and Nazim Sadykhov, and then you tell me, after watching that fight, who you think wins this fight. Mantello is 8-3. He has lost 1 by submission and 2 by decision, never been KO'd. That never been KO'd, like I said, this guy is durable, but he takes shots left and right. You can hit this guy with the kitchen sink, but you can't kill him. Eventually, that chin goes away, and this might be the fight where we see it on the Contender Series, getting Hassanzada a big knockout. But if you look at Hassanzada, the lion of the ring, his last win, ground and pound in round 3. Before that, a knee bar in round 1 against Chasen Blair. That's where Blair was on his back, looking for a rear naked choke. Somehow, he shook him off, and then found a way. Or I think Hassanzada was on his opponent's back. He shook him off, and then he rolled into a knee bar, and a belly down knee bar. Before that, he lost a unanimous decision to Josh Streaker. Now, that's not the best look, considering Streaker is 9-6. And his last loss coming to Charlie Campbell back in June of 2023. But then before that, he beat Ahmad Hassanzada. So, used his wrestling, used his pressure, used his takedowns, and won that fight. But honestly, I think this is a Hassanzada spot all day. Like, obviously his opponent in Mantello has good reach, good range, uses it well, but he can't use it well defensively, and the guy just gets hit too much. So unless he catches him coming in on a takedown or catches him crashing the pocket with a big shot, then I think Mantello can win. But I mean, like I said, I've seen this guy go back and forth. He did get finished in the 3rd round against Nazim Sadykhov, but I mean, that fight was back and forth for as long as it lasted. It was going the way of Nazim, but it was a competitive fight, I should say. So I'm going to take Ahmad Hassanzada to get the job done against Dylan Mantello. I'm going to go with a KO here. I think Sub is live, but I think he just cracks the chin of Dylan Mantello. And even if he can't crack it to get like a 1-punch KO, I think he gets him on the ground and lands ground and pound and finishes him off. So I'm going to take Ahmad Hassanzada, the Lion of the Ring, to defeat Dylan Mantello. I'm going to go with a 2nd round knockout in this main event of the 6th week of the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. All right, I'm your host, Double M. Enjoy the fights this Tuesday, and let's make some money, baby.